You're watching Good on Paper, a bookish channel.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, guys.
Hi, ladies.
Today we have a special guest. We have Jordan with us today. Jordan is an author, which I'm super excited about because we have never interviewed a children's book author on here before. And I just feel like it's such a special form of authorship. Jordan today.
Thank you, ladies. This is the first interview I've ever done, so I'm excited.
Aw,
No way. Oh, that's exciting.
yeah. Glad
Yeah,
to be your
because
first.
we know you also have a I don't know what it's not a podcast because you have a YouTube channel with Alissa. So I know you get to interview other authors, but so this is your first time being interviewed yourself.
Yeah.
Oh
So
my
Alissa and I do our YouTube channel. It's funny that you say, I don't know if it's a podcast or a YouTube channel because we don't really know what to call it either, because we don't like calling ourselves YouTubers. But our channel / podcast / whatever you want to call it is called Books and Bindings. So this is so fun to be joining another podcasty YouTube chat.
Yeah, now you get to be on the other side of the interviews.
Yes.
Yeah. I listen to Books and Bindings all the time. It is great. Great content. I love your interviews and like all the bookish chat and the authors on there. So I think pretty soon after we started this podcast, I was like, oh, we should have Jordan and Alissa or maybe both at the same time on because, they kind of do the same thing. So this is special that we got to have you on, especially at this time of year, because the reason that we're having Jordan on, in case you were not familiar with her,
November of 2021, and 2 weeks after we got, no, 2 weeks, maybe it was a month after we got married, we just found an abandoned bunny, the real life marzipan, in our parking lot. And so since it was right before Christmas, we thought it would be only natural and sweet to adopt her. And so I've always wanted to be a children's book author and just an author in general. And so the story kind of wrote itself. I feel like it's just such a cute story idea in general for, a bunny to appear at your door and to experience Christmas for the first time with owners who love her and care for her. So that's kind of the origin story of the book.
oh, that's so cute. I didn't know. I knew it was based off of your pet bunny Marzipan, but I didn't know this story about how you found her. So that's really cute.
Yeah. Yeah, it was crazy because it was like 50 degrees the night that the people just happened to abandon her, and then the next night it was like 20 degrees. So if we hadn't found her, she probably would have passed away. So we're really thankful to have her.
Aww.
Yeah.
Wow. That's like perfect timing that you guys were there. Like it was meant to be, for sure.
Yeah. How did she adjust being coming to live with you guys?
Oh, that's a great question. She yeah, it was really sad because when we found her, she was in this tiny, like like a hamster sized cage or maybe a guinea pig sized cage, so very small, and she was very skittish. So we would lay out a towel so she could run around the whole apartment and like, look at all this space you have. Look, you can go free. And she would just stay on the towel. And after about a week or so, she would put one paw off the towel and then scurry back on. And now she's like hopping on the couch. If you follow me on Instagram, I'm like always posting how crazy she is. Just she rules the apartment now when we let her out to play. Yeah, so it's really sweet to see her, to have seen her warm up. Yeah.
Oh, that's so sweet.
Rachel, you have your dog Marshall, right? How did you get Marshall?
Yeah, we had a dog named Lucy who was a lab, And then she passed away, and she was kind of my dad's dog, and he just like was obsessed with her. And he was sure he didn't want to get another dog after that, but then he saw one in the newspaper, but he didn't tell us about it until it was too late and it was already adopted. But then it kind of got my mind going that I wanted to get a dog. And then I saw Great Pyrenees and I was like, I'd never heard of one before. And I was like, what is this dog? And so then I was determined that we were going to get a Great Pyrenees no matter what. So we actually got him as a puppy. And my dad's the one who picked him out of the litter. So yeah.
That's really sweet. How big was he when
Yeah.
you first got him?
Oh gosh. I mean, he was a fairly large puppy, even though I don't remember how old he was. He was still pretty young, but he was a pretty big fluff ball. And what's strange is like most dogs that I've had as puppies are like such a pain to train. They whine a lot, they go potty in their crate, all that kind of stuff. He's never pottied in his crate. He's never pottied in the house. He doesn't whine. He barks a lot, but that's about it. So he thinks he's a guard dog, so
Oh,
But yeah.
that's really sweet.
Yeah.
I wonder if that's like his personality or because of his breed, because I know Great Pyrenees are apparently the dog for chickens. Like if you need a dog to guard your chicken,
Oh.
Yeah.
like that's
Mhm.
what you get, assuming you don't live in too hot of a place.
Mhm.
So I wonder if that's just like they're very good because they've just been bred to be really good work dogs. So maybe,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
We wanted a dog, and I thought we would have a dog by now, but our space is kind of small. So Marzipan's our dog right now. And then eventually we'll get a puppy.
Yeah. I mean, she's white and fluffy, so I guess she's kind of like a dog, you know?
Exactly. Yep. She acts like a puppy too. In the morning
Aw.
when we come out, like the second we come out, she wants her breakfast and she'll thump her foot and she'll honk at us. It's like, okay, calm down. She has an attitude.
That's so cute.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know bunnies did that. That's so funny.
Yes, we didn't either. She's been a lot of fun.
Mm.
Goodness. So I actually did get a copy of Marzipan's First Christmas for my friend's baby, and that's actually the baby that I was nannying today because I'm like I nanny for that family, and I don't know, I was just thinking of it on my way back home from work. I was like, now I'm gonna talk to Jordan about her book. I was like, oh yeah, and the little baby has a copy of that book. So it was, I don't know, kind of special today that I got to spend time with my friend's baby and then come talk to the actual author of the book. Like, how often does that happen?
Mhm.
That's really sweet. That's like everything I want to know that little kids are reading it. I dedicated the book to young storytellers because I always wanted to be an author, and
Yep.
stories have always inspired me. And so it's just really sweet to know that there's a real baby out there who has my book and
Mhm.
be a storyteller themselves one day.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Love that.
she's 6 months. She was really little when, actually no, I don't think she was even born yet. Yeah, because last Christmas she wasn't born, so I just gave it to them in preparation. But this is gonna be her first Christmas,
Oh,
and she's 6 months now, and she's just starting to get into books. Like she likes hearing you talk, you know? Like
that's such a
yeah.
fun age.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we also had some questions from our listeners. I know we could probably talk about animals all day because I know
Yes.
Rachel is super passionate about animals. I have never had any because my family was in the military, so when we were growing up my mom thought it would be too hard on them, but one day we'll get maybe some dogs and cats. But we also had some questions from our listeners. Let's see, Bethany wanted to know what inspires you, and it's kind of open-ended, so it could be as a writer or I guess just in general, however you want to answer that.
Hmm. That's a really tough question. I feel things very deeply. So I think if I see a good story, like if I watch a movie, I'm like, that was really good storytelling. And I wish I had written that. That inspires me. I'm trying to think of a real, I watched the movie yesterday. It's about this guy, there's like a lightning crash or something happens, an earthquake, and the whole world forgets that the Beatles existed. But the way that they told the story was just so beautiful. So I think seeing other people's creativity is something that's super inspiring to me. I think nature is really inspiring. I love snow in general. Like the first snowfall of the year just gets me so excited because it's like a baptism in a way. It's like a fresh start, a fresh beginning. It's setting the stage for something new. I love hymns, like beautiful old hymns, piano. I don't really have a specific answer. I think just a lot of things inspire me. I think things that are in general beautiful and people who, when you can tell that they're loving what they're doing. Like I think Bookstagram has been really beautiful in that way, just seeing so many people who are passionate about their craft and who are learning and growing. Like that inspires me to want to continue to learn and grow as well.
Yeah, I think I'm probably the same way. I wouldn't say that there's any one thing that inspires me, but there's, a multitude of things, and a lot of them are the same thing, like creativity from other people, beauty, definitely hymns. Music is big for me, and I love hymns.
Yeah, I agree. Different stories, different moments in time, different relationships you have, different memories, all of it. Just, I think when you're creative, so many things can inspire you. It just triggers a domino effect in your brain and things start coming alive. Yeah.
It does. It just starts to run away from you at that point.
Yeah.
That's so true. It's so hard to pinpoint what is one thing or one category of thing that inspires me. I really don't know. If I see it and it inspires me, then that's what inspires me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So do you have like a writing process? Are you working on anything right now? Or are you just kind of letting things marinate while you think about your next project?
Yeah, so I'm working on Marzipan book number 2. I have a whole Marzipan series in mind that hopefully I'll be able to actually put into print and illustrations. So that's something I'm working on. I also, kind of on the back shelf, I'm working on a historical fiction novel, which is set in 1912. So Titanic times. I'm a huge Titanic person. I love everything about the Titanic. And so I thought it would be really fun to tell a story from an angle that you wouldn't necessarily think about when you think Titanic novel. So I'm excited to explore that more. I think in general, my writing process, I'm a perfectionist. And so I think I'm still learning what my writing process looks like. I get really excited with the research stage. Like research is my thing. I love collecting information and taking notes and writing that outline. And I think where I tend to get stuck is the actual plot development. Like, okay, how do I get to know these characters well enough to the point where I can then start developing plot? And then, yeah, so I think I don't have a perfect answer. I'm not a perfect author. I'm learning like we all are. But I do have a lot of ideas that I want to flesh out and finish one day.
No, I'm definitely in the same place. I've kind of put a pause on my writing, just, dealing with some life things. And before I start again, I'm like, I really want to think about like what I'm doing and how I'm doing it. And one thing I'm excited about is when I do start writing again, I don't want to think so much about the writing part of it because I'm also a perfectionist. Rachel is too. We're all perfectionists here, and I get hung up on that. But what I really want to focus on is just building a writing routine. And while I'm doing that, I'll be writing, but my goal is not necessarily going to be like finish a book or write this book. I want to just like build a good writing habit and just figure out what works for me. Because I think, writing can be very difficult and disheartening. So I'm kind of just trying to take the pressure off and work on just making it part of my life, if that makes sense, and seeing what happens.
Yeah, the perfectionism is rough. I don't know very many writers who don't struggle with it. I don't know if it's just part of being a creative or what, but yeah, it can be a challenge for sure.
And I
Yeah.
think Instagram just adds a whole other layer of comparison too.
Mhm.
I've noticed, especially in the last couple months, that I've been comparing my progress or my accomplishments or what I haven't accomplished to other people and
Mhm.
thinking like, well, at this point, I should already have 3 marzipan books out or whatever.
Mm.
Or I should already have half a novel written. Why am I not doing what she's doing? And I think it's so easy to, we were talking about inspiration earlier, and I think it's so easy to lose that inspiration when you start looking out at other people instead of reminding yourself and remembering, oh yeah, this is what actually inspires me at the end of the day. Like, I'm not inspired by competition. I don't think any of us
Mhm.
are, or at least
Yeah.
a healthy version of us
Mhm.
is not inspired by competition. Um, so I think 2024, I want to reevaluate what it looks like to be on Instagram or the Bookstagram community, and in a healthy way engage with others while also still working on my craft, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
No, yeah, we're right there with you, Rachel and I. I feel like this whole year has been both of us trying to figure out, because Instagram is really nice. It's a great way to connect to other people. That's how we all met each other, really.
Yep.
It's a great way to get your book out there, but it's kind of like, how do you balance the benefits with the negatives, which there are a lot of negatives. So, both of us have been really working on like how to be an author and be present on there without it like controlling us. And it's difficult, but I think you can do it. It just takes a little work and some creativity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. That's where my head's been at a lot lately, is trying to kind of get back to what I fell in love with about Bookstagram, which was meeting so many people that I didn't know before that I found so much in common with. And I was like, oh, I'm not the only one who feels this way or who does this. And that was so cool. And then, because I didn't know what Bookstagram was until I was starting to publish something, and I was like bombarded with all these things. And then it's now just turned into this big pool of marketing that's basically all I do, all I see from other people. And while I understand that that Instagram can be a tool that way, it also can be really draining to be a part of that all the time. So I'm also like trying to figure out, how do I bring it back to actually communicating and interacting with people that I really enjoy versus just constantly focusing on the career aspect of trying to sell copies and make money and compare myself. It's a struggle for sure. I don't have
Yeah.
answers, but
Yeah. I think, in the wise words of Alissa, she says all the time, Instagram is just one tool in the toolbox.
Mm,
It's not the only tool we have as authors. And I have
mm,
to remember that. Like, oh, I have
yeah.
my community, my real life community as well. I have
Yeah.
a church community that I can,
Hmm.
talk about my book to. There's local
Yeah.
schools that I can go and read my book to. Like, I'm
Mhm.
not at the mercy of Instagram. And yeah, Instagram is so great. And I've met so many great people, you two included.
Mhm.
And I think I don't want to lose sight of those good moments by getting caught up in the rat race of marketing, like you said,
Yeah.
Rachel.
Yeah.
Yeah. Huh. So speaking of writing, that actually leads kind of perfectly into Bethany's other question for you, Jordan. And that was, do you listen to music while you write? And if so, what kind of music do you listen to?
No.
Mhm.
I can't multitask like that. My husband, he can do work while listening to music. He can write sermons while listening to music. He's a pastor. And I'm like, I need dead silence. There can't be any like noise in the background. Maybe I need to work on that. But yeah, I just get distracted too much if I listen to music.
Yeah, I can do instrumental, but
Mhm.
words
Mm,
generally, are hard for me. And I also, I try and write in like libraries and stuff like that, but
mm,
it's hard. I also I don't like having distractions. And sometimes I feel like, oh, you just need to focus more, but I don't know.
Maybe if I didn't know the music and I was listening to it, that would be better. But like if I'm listening to a soundtrack, an instrumental soundtrack of a movie I know, I'll just be like,
Yeah.
oh, this is the scene when, like, my mind won't be able to focus on
Yeah.
what I'm reading.
Yeah, I think I'm the same way because when I listen to classical music playlists and they're playing classical music that I know, I have a really hard time, you know? But if it's just, you know, somebody's instrumental playlist, although I do find like if I start a playlist like first thing with a new playlist with a new story, I can listen to it over and over again because it's like becomes part of that story. But if it's something I already know, it doesn't work as well. So I kind of understand what you.
Yeah. I'm the same way with the music. Like I like it and I like the concept of listening to music and having a playlist. I can have a playlist while I'm brainstorming or like while I'm just like, creatively thinking, but when I'm actually writing, I can't do it because partly even if it's instrumental, it'll influence like the tone of the scene. Like if the music sounds sad, then suddenly I feel like the characters should be sad and I'm like, but they're not supposed to be sad, but the music feels sad. So it like gets confusing in my brain.
Right. It's
Yeah.
like, what is driving the story right now? Am I driving the
Yeah.
story or is this chord progression
Yeah.
driving the story?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's funny.
No, that's really true. That's a really good point you bring up because I know I will not listen to music when I'm like beta reading for somebody or editing my own stuff or somebody else's because I don't want the music to make me feel emotions that aren't there. Like I want to make sure everything is coming across in the story and the scene just doesn't seem really powerful because the music is doing that, you know? So yeah, that you bring up a really good point. Like when you're writing, you know, because I think some people it like inspires them to put more feeling into the story, but at the same time, you do want it to be coming from you and not you just feeling like you're doing it because like the music is making you feel like that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So true.
Yeah. So we had one more question from our listeners. This is from Cheyenne, and she wanted to know what drew you to publishing children's books in particular.
Mm. Yeah. Like I said, I've always wanted to write children's books in some capacity. So I learned to read when I was really little, and when I was in preschool, I was invited to read to the kindergarten classes. And I just thought that was so cool. Like, wow, I'm reading to the big kids. Or maybe it was the other way around, kindergarten reading to preschool. I can't remember. But I just always loved the idea of somebody listening to the words that I was saying and moved by that story. And I think young minds are so impressionable, and there's so many messages that are in the world today for good or not so good. And I think being someone who's putting out a message out there that is positive and uplifting and heartwarming, I think that's just it's a responsibility that I'm very humbled by. And so I think even just getting the opportunity to read to a couple classes of preschoolers last year, my marzipan book, it was just so exciting to see the smiles on their faces. I'm like, wow. And I don't know. I think kids are fun audiences because they're honest. And so if they're not interested, they're not interested. But if they like it, you know. And I think there's something so pure in kids' reactions as well. So yeah, it's interesting to be writing to a kid audience and then also having a desire to write to an adult audience as well. Something that I've always written short stories and things like that, but I've never written a full length novel. So that'll be a fun adventure to do one day.
Well, I'm really excited about your full-length novel because historical fiction is my thing. And when you said, you know, early 1900s, I love that era. So, you know, whenever it comes out into the world, I will definitely be very ready for it. I'm
Oh,
looking
thank you.
forward to it. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like that fits because I remember you doing all your trivia stuff about the Titanic on Instagram, which was so much fun because there was so much I didn't know. I was like seriously fascinated all day. So that doesn't surprise me at all. I feel like that's right on brand.
It is so funny that you say that because the amount of people who have told me, I loved your Titanic trivia. It's so random. Like I don't know. I've always thought it was dorky that I'm like, oh, I love the Titanic and nobody's really interested in this. And so I just thought it was funny that so many people were like, this is amazing. So thank you.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, that's like I listen to the Office Ladies podcast a lot.
Yeah.
And I like when they get off on tangents where they're just basically giving information you didn't know before. I don't know what it is, but it's fascinating to learn about stuff I didn't know. Even if it's not a topic that I'm particularly like excited about, it's still interesting to hear things that somebody else knows that I didn't. It's fun. I don't know why, but
Yes. Now that you mention that, I
Mhm.
listened to the Office Ladies too, and they did an episode like a year ago. But they were talking about the origins of the fluffernutter sandwich. Do you remember this?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes.
so I'm from New England. So like, yeah, I grew up, I know what fluffernutter is. But they just could not believe that it was a thing. And they were like, what? That
Mhm.
cannot be real. Yeah, I like their tangents
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's the when you get the marshmallow fluff and you put peanut butter on it, right?
In a sandwich, yeah.
I'm trying to think. I don't know that we ever called it fluffernutter, but we definitely grew up eating that. I can't remember what we called it. I think we just called it peanut butter and fluff. You know, like peanut butter
Yeah,
and
yeah.
jelly. But
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
same thing.
funny. I didn't know that that
I've
wasn't
still
a
never had it.
widespread thing.
I need to try it. I've still never had it.
You're
I feel
missing
like you
out.
would like it, Rachel.
I think I
Life-changing.
would. I'm big on sweets and peanut butter, so I feel like this is match made in heaven for me.
Yeah. Yeah. Do they sell fluff at all grocery stores?
I think so, in the peanut butter aisle.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mhm. That makes sense why it's by peanut butter now.
Oh, yeah, because it
It's
is in the
all
section
making
with,
sense.
yeah.
My mind is like blown right now.
Actually, you know what's really, this is such a tangent. This is such a rabbit trail. It has nothing to do with
Love
anything.
tangent.
But toast, if you just make a thing of toast and you spread peanut butter on it and then fluff and then sprinkle chocolate chips, so good. It's a nice
Ooh,
little
That sounds good too.
treat.
that sounds really good.
It's kind of like a
I think,
peanut butter toast s'more.
Yes.
yeah. Ooh,
Rachel, you have to go to the store and buy fluff now, like
I
immediately
I
after we're
think I
done talking.
do because now that I'm going to be starting work, I'm like trying to make a list of all the things I need to bring to work with me because I'll be there every day. I'm like, maybe I should get some marshmallow fluff. And then when I, get tired of writing or I don't have enough work to do and I'm bored or I'm just tired, I can just sit there and try and come up with all the ways I can eat marshmallow fluff. Be a
There
fun
you
little
go.
side project and share them
You
all on
should,
the internet.
yeah, you should make a marshmallow fluff cookbook.
Yeah, there you
Even though it's
go.
probably not going to be cooked, but like recipe book, I guess.
Yeah,
Now you're working at a Christmas tree farm, right?
yeah,
Do
yeah.
are people buying Christmas trees right now?
Well, it's not a U-cut, it's wholesale, so we sell to like Walmart and Home Depot and stuff like that.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So for us, they're already shipping. So like truck drivers come in and they pick up big loads of trees and then we ship them down to like California and Texas and stuff. So
Got
yeah,
it.
yeah.
Very cool.
No.
So you're the tree farm that supplies America.
Yeah. It's weird because it's funny to me that we don't ship them anywhere in Oregon. We ship them all out of state. And I'm like, that's so weird to me. I'm like, who's shipping to the Oregon stores then if it's not us? Like, I just find that strange.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of things are like that these days. Because I was talking to some
Mhm.
like Texas ranchers, and they're like, "Oh no, like all of our beef goes in different states, and then we get Texans beef comes from like, I mean, not all, but like a lot of it comes
Yeah.
from other states, other countries, even. It's just, I don't know.
Mhm.
It seems like too many steps. Like it seems like
Yeah.
overcomplicating the process, but I don't know. I
Yeah.
guess it's working. Everybody has beef and Christmas trees, so it must be fine.
all you need.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. So I am curious, Jordan, what the process is like for writing a children's book, because I've never tried it before. I mean, I assume it's quite a bit different than writing a novel, but yeah, what would you say that process is like for you at least?
That's a really good question. Excuse me. It took about 2 months to write Marzipan's First Christmas. Um, it's hard because you have to tell a whole story in a
Yeah.
very limited number of words. Like my book is, I think it's 18 pages.
Yeah.
And so, okay, how do I tell this story? How do I have character development
Mhm.
in 18 pages? And so it started out me just writing, like, okay, what are the main ideas that I want to get across? What's the story that I want to tell? And I just wrote pages and pages and pages, like probably 6 notebook pages worth of the story.
Yeah.
And then I thought, okay, how do I cut out the unnecessary details? So I broke it down even further. Okay, how do I make this engaging for kids? How do I use words that they might connect with, but not dumb down the language too much? I think an author, a children's book author that I really look up to is Roald Dahl, because he told legit stories and didn't dumb down the language, because he knew kids were smart. And so I kind of wanted to go in with that same attitude, like kids are smart. You don't need to write down to them. And then from there, I realized that something just wasn't, uh, it wasn't clicking. It wasn't connecting with me as the author. I'm like, okay, this is a cute story, but what's missing from it? And then I thought, well, what if I try to make it rhyme? And then from there, it was like, boom, it was very, very easy to, I don't want to say easy, but the ideas came a lot quicker once I was able to put them into rhyme. And coming up with the rhymes was really fun, and using a little bit of wordplay sometimes was really fun. And yeah, like I said, the process from start to finish was about 2 months.
Wow.
And now how did the process, like how did this fit in with like the illustration? Like were you seeing like illustrations in your head as you were doing it, or did that like kind of like just like add to what you had, or what did that look like for you?
Yeah, that's a great question. I had a couple scenes in mind. So actually, I can show you one of the scenes that, as I was writing, I was like, oh, this would be really, really cute. How do I make a rhyme out of this? How do I make this work? So the scene where she's looking at her reflection in a Christmas ornament. So I didn't have from start to finish what I wanted the book to look like. I just had general, what's the word? What's the word? Like guide posts along the way of like, okay, this would be cute here. This would be cute here. And I just wanted an illustrator who had experience with children's books before and who might be able to extrapolate on my ideas a little bit and be able to interpret what I was telling her my vision was. So I went on Instagram, of all places, and I found Jess Burcham, my illustrator. She's the creative director of Bunnies by the Bay. It's a children's book clothing toy line. I think they're in Washington. And thankfully, I found her when she hadn't blown up too big. I think at the time she had 30,000 followers, and now she has like over 100,000. So I'm so thankful that she said yes to little old me. And it was just a joy getting to work with her.
Yeah, that's so fun because I mean, in a children's book, I mean, some people write and illustrate them, but I think a lot of them, probably most of them, are an author illustrator team. And I'm always so curious, like, how they interact with each other, you know, and build off of each other. And I know generally authors who do write children's books do have, like, kind of probably more, well, I don't know about more, but I feel like they generally have more visuals in their head because they know they're writing a picture book. So you know there's going to be pictures. So you are kind of thinking more along those lines. So I'm always so curious how the author like collaborates with the illustrator. That's just fascinating to me.
I was worried at first that she wouldn't be able to pick up on like, oh, I have this idea of, you know, Christmas morning and her standing on the windowsill and her paws against the window pane and the Christmas tree is in the background and snow is lightly falling. And I was like, I hope she can understand what I'm trying to tell her. And then she sent me the illustration and it was exactly what I was envisioning.
Oh.
That's actually the only illustration in the book that I didn't ask for any edits on. I was like, how did she know that? But even with all the other illustrations too, she's just very gifted, a very gifted artist. She is able to interpret what someone is telling her. And also she had the words to my book as well. So she was able to kind of imagine like, okay, this is the tone, this is kind of the color palette that she's looking for. So yeah, it was just a really great learning experience for me because I had never worked with an illustrator before and she's worked with lots of authors. So yeah, it's just a huge blessing that I was able to work with her.
Yeah, it can be challenging. I guess kind of scary a little bit to work with artists, whether it's cover design or an illustrator or character art, because you're trusting someone to bring to life what you have in your brain. And it can be really hard to like translate between two people exactly what's going on inside your head because you can't physically show it to them. So it's always really cool when they can just like kind of pick up on it really quick because it's like, you know, oh, I can trust you with this story because you get where I'm coming from and where I want it to go. So that's really cool that she was so good with you about it.
Mm-hmm. It was funny when I asked her to do the cover. I'm the worst artist in the entire world, but I drew like this very elementary drawing of the rabbit and the tree in the background, and I sent it to her. I was like, okay, this is so embarrassing, but can you please like interpret what I'm envisioning? And then she sent back the cover, and it was exactly what I wanted. I'm like, how does she know? Some people are just so gifted and have that. And also, your character art, Rachel, is beautiful.
Yeah, I know. Maddie's so good. Like, I'm like, I can do a little bit, but to that detail, nope, I got to hire a professional for that. Yeah.
Well, I don't know. Did you have any more questions, Rachel?
I'm trying to think. No, but I do. I do have one thing to say though, is that I bought the book when you first, I think it was last Christmas, last winter. And so I have it, but I haven't given it to anyone yet because I just found out that my brother and sister-in-law are expecting a little boy. So like when they come for Christmas this year, I can give them that book as like one of the Christmas gifts for my, you know, nephew who's coming in May. So I'm like, so I feel like it's very special that with children's books, you know, because I know for most of us writers, like it was a book at some point that inspired us to make stories. So it's really cool that what you're doing with children's books is not only giving kids like this really positive, safe, uplifting thing for them to read, but also potentially inspiring young writers to fall in love with stories because, you know, it's like their first steps into that world. So anyway, I'm excited to give it to them, and I just think it's really cool.
Thank you. That means the world. That's like everything I could ever ask for as an author is to know that people are sharing it with their family or, just it's going out there to kids. So thank you. That means a lot.
Yeah, something that kind of struck me when you were talking about how you became a children's book author is what was special to you as that kindergartner reading to the preschoolers was people were listening to your words. And I think that's something really special about children's books. Well, especially picture books, because, you know, chapter books are different, but picture books are generally pretty much always read aloud, you know, unless the kid gets older and is reading by themselves. But generally, they're read aloud to younger children who can't read quite yet. And so you have that different element is that your words, you know, your words are going to be spoken aloud. You know, like that's the point of them to be spoken aloud. And that's an element of the picture book that I didn't really think about before. And so that's really special. You get to do that.
Thank you. That's actually, I'm so glad you mentioned that because I guess that was a big process of the writing process of this was I wanted my words to be as captivating as the illustrations, and I hope they are. But I think, yeah, when you're a kid, all you see is the illustrations. And so the words should, also incite some kind of inspiration or joy or, just a feeling of safety and coziness. And so I really tried to keep that in mind too with the words I was choosing.
Yeah. Yeah. It's almost like you're kind of writing a play more than a book, because the parent's going to be speaking it. So it's like you have to, when you're talking about the tone, it's like, how do I want the parent to say this? Like, how do I write it so that, it has that rhythm and the feeling that you want? And so it's a much more immersive thing. I mean, you got the pictures going on, you've got the spoken voice, and like, children's books are something special for sure. So it's been such a blast talking to you because we've really dove in. Why, as a writer, I should be better with words, but we dove into all these aspects of storytelling that we have just never talked about before on this podcast,
Yeah.
Oh, thank you for inviting me. This has been such a treat and it's a joy. Thank you so much, ladies.
Yeah. Thank you for coming. This has been a lot of fun. I mean, not that we don't love all interviews, but some of them just like you feel like you're clicking really well with a friend and stuff. And I feel like that's what this one is for me. So I'm so glad you came on.
Oh, thank you guys. I
Yeah.
also think it's close to the holidays, so there's just like that holiday cheer going around.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I hope this brings all of you, our listeners, some cheer, gets you excited for the holidays. If you're still looking for Christmas presents and you have a baby in your life, go check out Jordan's book. We will have it linked below. So we'll have your book linked and your Instagram. Is there anywhere else that we could find you, Jordan, online?
I think that's it. That just about does it.
Yeah. So you can connect with Jordan on Instagram and see what she's up to and when the second and third and who knows how many more marzipan books are coming out. And we'll also put a link so that you can go right to purchasing her book. And yeah, we will probably be talking to Jordan again at some point, I'm sure. I feel like we always want to do second interviews with all of our authors that we talk to. Yeah. So we'll definitely see you again. But other than that, thanks for listening and thanks for being here with us, Jordan.
Thank you so much. This was such a great opportunity. It was great to finally meet you face to face.
Yeah. Yep. It's been lovely. So yeah. Thanks guys for tuning in and listening or watching, whichever one you're doing.
Yeah, and we will see you next time. Bye.
Bye guys. Hey guys, thanks so much for tuning in. We hope you enjoyed it and tune in next week for another episode. And if you enjoyed it, please consider leaving a review so that other people can find us. And we will see you in the future. Bye.